welcome to another edition of Brews and Crews. I am your host, Chris Jacobson, and today I have an out-of-town guest that I haven't seen in over a decade. Tyler Hodshire is on the podcast today, and he brought something for us that is not brews, it is not beer-related, but it is energy drinks. So you have brought on you called it a flight of energy drinks, and I love that because in beer talk, flights are usually 4 to 5 of them, and you brought 4 different flavors. So what do we have here?
So this is an energy drink that a lot of people use before their workouts. This is something that a lot of people, they try to get caffeine, and I found something that Dwayne Johnson has developed, and it's called ZOA Energy. And I've always been a follower of Dwayne Johnson because I believe that he kind of embodies like what it means to start, from a very young age and then just slowly over time really develop consistency, through hypertrophy, muscle building. And he just developed this brand of energy drinks, and I just kind of fell in love. Yeah.
Sweet. How long have you been using this kind of stuff?
ZOA, I've actually been using ZOA Energy for about a year and a half. I used to be the typical, mixer, I think C4,
Sure.
Bang Energy. Then I found ZOA, and he talks about how there's a lot more healthy ingredients.
Okay.
And you just don't hear about that when you hear about Bang Energy and C4 too much. So yeah.
Well, this is going to be a pleasure for me because I have never had this. I've never even drank it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have seen it though at GNC. So you're going to tell us which flavor we should start off with. Go off the one that you like the most, I would say.
Oh man. Okay. So I am a big fan of the Hawaiian Punch kind of tropical flavor energy drink, fruit punch flavor. So I got to go with the fruit punch.
And which color is that one?
That's the blue one.
The blue one.
Yeah.
The light blue one. All right.
Yeah, and I think it's actually called Tropical Punch. Yeah.
It's called Tropical Punch. Yep. Made with other natural flavors. So I brought us a couple cups that we can pour these into. Cool. And we might be just wired by the end of this podcast.
Are these these are Brews and Crews koozies we got too.
I got some of those for you too. I gave you some stickers as well, but yeah, I got coasters as well made up. We're trying to make it look as professional as possible.
Cool. And another cool thing about the cheers.
Cheers.
Another interesting fact about the ZOA Energy is they are only 160 milligrams of caffeine, which is about half of most of the energy drinks that are out there on the market right now.
Yeah, I know that I take Burn MF from GNC, and it's 300. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you before we even started shooting that I don't even really feel this kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yep. So when I'm looking at the back of this can, and I know I just saw you at the gym yesterday, which I wasn't surprised because I figured I was going to see you there.
Yeah.
You were kind of giving me a slow rundown on these because you were drinking one.
Yep.
On the back here, it says ZOA Energy for balance and drive. And it says B and C vitamins, electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, 190 BCAs. So that's good. A lot of, I would say a lot of them don't have BCAs in them. At least the pre-workouts that I see. Sometimes the protein might. Otherwise, you got to take another, usually a scoop of something that gets you your BCAs. And then camu extract. No idea what that is. And I'm hoping maybe you'll know some of these. Yeah. And then the caffeine from green tea and green coffee, which makes up the 160 milligrams of caffeine. So I don't know how much you know about this, and I'm not going to ask you to be an expert, but if you know some things about what I just read off, because some of this I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm still learning a lot about Dwayne Johnson and where he comes from, kind of his history, his family history. But I do know that he has Polynesian background, Polynesian descent.
Yep.
And so he really kind of he values a lot of the lifestyle, especially in Hawaii.
Yep.
I believe his mom I believe that's his mother's side.
Yeah, I think his dad was African and his mom was Samoan.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's from Hawaii, though.
So they value living off of the land. They value a lot of natural remedies instead of what we know now as Western medicine.
Yep.
They value the kind of the holistic lifestyle of just living more from a natural way.
Now, you drink this for your pre-workout, or you drink it throughout your workout?
Yeah, so I would suggest, I drink it as a pre-workout. So, and anybody that wants to try ZOA, I I would suggest doing it before you work out, and maybe a little bit, maybe 10 minutes into it.
Sure.
Because it really does kind of give you that initial kind of boost, that kickstart that a lot of us need, especially if you work.
Yep.
If you have a full-time job, you put a lot of energy there. And if you have a family, you put a lot of energy there. So having the ZOA kind of kickstart is just enough to say, okay, I can get into this workout without kind of feeling too bogged down.
So how much in advance are you drinking one of these?
So I do it about 15 minutes before I work out.
Okay.
So I start drinking it about 15 minutes before. So about right when I start my workout, start my warm up anyways.
Yep.
That's the point when I'm finishing the drink.
Okay.
So
you're basically drinking on your way to the gym, and then slightly into your pre-workout, which your warm up you called it. You're drinking it then, and then it's gone by that time, and you're probably just strictly water, is my guess.
Yeah. I've got it in my hand. I've got the ZOA in my hand. I would say going into about 5 to 10 minutes into my warm up, because a warm up is very important, especially as you start to get older. Like
Yeah.
you exit your 20s and you realize, okay, a warm up is actually necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to recruit as many muscle fibers as possible,
Sure,
you need to warm up,
Yeah, and so how long is your warm up? Because I'm going to be honest with you, my warm up is about a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm 36, so
Yeah.
I know you're younger than me, but how long is a warm up for you considered?
Yeah, you can achieve a high quality warm up in about 5 to 10 minutes. Mine is right around that 7-8 minute range.
What are you doing?
So, oh man, I have a list of ththings that I do, and of course it depends on what muscle group I'm working on that day.
Okay.
So if I'm working on an upper body, I like to do single arm swings.
Okay.
Really, because your rotator cuff is a very valuable piece of your body. So really, warming up the rotator cuffs on both sides. I like to take any band, right? Like any exercise band.
Sure.
And just really spread it apart. Kind of do some around the worlds if you want to. I also like to do a lot of back warm-ups. Maybe I might take a foam roller and roll out. I think you can honestly roll out every day.
Yeah.
That you're working out. So if you work out 5 days a week, rolling out is not a bad thing.
So are you rolling those specific muscles that you're about to work?
Yeah.
So let's just say you're doing arms that day. Are you like on your side?
Yeah.
Rolling that? Okay.
Yep,
And
yep.
do you have anything other than a foam roller? I see those ones, it's like 2 handles and people are pushing on their hamstrings and they're pushing on their quads and all that. Is that?
Yeah, I don't do that because that is very intensive.
Sure.
So I'm sure that maybe one day I might get into that.
Okay.
As I advance, but right now I find that a foam roller is pretty sufficient for what I do, and it's very effective because I'm not as sore after. Like my recovery is not as painful. I noticed ever since I started warming up, and now at this point I've been warming up for about 2 years intensively.
Okay.
More like intentionally, I would say.
How long does your workout then go after your warm up? How rough? Whatever your day is, you just give us an example day. You're doing 15-ish minutes of warming up. How long is your workout then?
So I typically work out because I do hypertrophy, which hypertrophy is more about building and bulking.
Okay.
That's the style of workout I try to do. Mm-hmm. It's always at least an hour and a half. It's hard to stay under an hour and a half.
Okay.
With what I do, it does take pretty long breaks between each set.
Okay, gotcha.
So because of the breathing and because of how hard are you going for those 12 to 15 reps.
Okay.
So,
and then are you doing something post lifting? Are you doing a cardio or something afterwards?
Yeah, I try to finish off with cardio just to really get my heart rate up.
Yep.
Even though my heart rate might be, risen during the hypertrophy training that I do, but I think running is important, even a small amount.
Sure.
Or walking. It's just very healthy.
How long is your post cardio?
It's only about 5 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to get the heart rate going consistently.
Yeah, and as tall as I am, I'm 6'3" and a quarter, and I'm about 175 pounds. So with as long as I am, I don't necessarily need to be running, for 20 minutes after every workout because it's tough to build when you get that much cardio in.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying. You're kind of doing a bulking type.
Yeah.
And you're looking huge right now.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's taken a lot of time. It's a lot of food and a lot of timed eating, like spreading your meals out throughout the day.
Okay. Will you be eating on this podcast with us?
No, I actually ate before I came here. So
okay. I thought maybe you'd be, hey, it's time for a meal. I gotta eat while we're doing this, and that'd be funny.
Nope. I had some hamburger meat. I had some sweet potatoes and some brown rice right before I came, and I'm feeling really good.
Good. Yeah. So you got a pretty strict diet then?
Yeah, very strict. I have a coach, and he's a big part of that. Yeah.
Well, that's good though. It keeps you accountable.
Yeah.
Now, how old are you for everyone's sake out there?
So I'm 33.
Okay, you're 33.
Yep.
So you weren't that much when I first met you. You weren't that much. I thought you were like, I don't know, 8 years at least younger than me.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 33 now. I'm only 3 years older than you. I didn't realize that. When did you first start getting into? Because when I remember you, probably 14 years ago,
right?
You're inquisitive just like you are now. But about everything working out, you would ask your family members, you would ask me, other people, and it's like you take it all in and then you just utilize all the information you get. So when did you start getting big into this?
Yeah. So I think obviously my family's had a major influence on me. My friends, but at a very young age, my parents got me into team sports. And
of course. Yep.
In team sports, we know that how hard you practice and how hard you train is what sets you apart.
Right.
And so fortunately at a very, very young age, I was surrounded by some friends that were very strong.
Okay.
And of course they were so strong because of what they did in the weight room. And so I think that started at 14.
Wow.
Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. That's
so this
a really
is 20
young age.
years of dedication and 20 years of different styles of working out, but only about 2 or 3 years of what I would call bodybuilding.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ever hear people when you were younger, did you ever hear people say, oh, that's going to stunt your growth if you do this, or it's going to hurt your performance or whatever it might be working out? Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I did. And actually, when I heard that, it caused me to not weightlift as hard as my friends.
Okay.
Like growing up, I was more of a runner and a jumper.
Sure.
I was able to dunk a basketball by the time I was 16.
Nice.
And so like, I think just knowing that there's a possibility just from like hearsay, it scared me enough to where I don't need to bench 225, 10 reps by the time I'm 15 or whatever. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of a myth from what I understand. Like you can lift and that's all fine. It's not going to stunt your growth, growth plates and all that. That's going to make up. So you're big into team sports then? You grew up playing team sports, basketball, I assume? Or?
Yeah. So growing up, I played basketball.
Sure.
I played baseball. I played football as a wide receiver.
That would make sense.
Yep. And so a lot of sports, as a tall and kind of thin player, you're more of a positional player.
Yeah.
But of course, as you get older, you learn like sports, isn't necessarily in the playbook, especially unless you're just a freak of nature a lot of times. But yeah, I still play slow pitch softball, which is fun.
So do I.
Yep. And
it's
so
a lot of fun.
Batting practice is an absolute blast.
Yep.
But sorry, back to team sports. Yeah. I was a 3-sport athlete.
Good.
In high school, I also played golf, and I was a 2-time state qualifier, which was
nice.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big into golf too. So
yeah.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, golf is a great sport, and you can play it for life, which is really cool.
That is.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I want to ask you, and this is going back to your workouts, what'd you do today? Because I saw you coming in.
Yeah.
So I'll see you in a few hours for the podcast. And what were you about to hit today?
Yeah, so today was actually back day. And back day's one of my, I think it's one of my easier days.
Oh, yeah?
Because you're working on your back instead of the smaller muscles. The back is such a big muscle group.
Sure.
There's so many moving parts in the back, top to bottom. And so, yeah, today was back day.
Okay. So that's actually one of my least favorite other than the legs.
Yeah.
Because I can't see it, I think, is what the problem is. And it's just a lot of pulling. Everything's pretty much pull.
Everything.
As far as I can tell. I mean, nothing doesn't you're either doing lat pull downs, which is a pull, or you're doing just pulls in general. It's the only way you can do it.
Yep.
But you're right. It's just a huge muscle, and they're all back here. That's probably why I hate it.
Yeah.
So today I hit shoulders. So I'm hoping that they pop out on the podcast.
Shoulders is a great day.
It's a good day, but it's like you said, going back to your rotator cuff, you got to warm those up because it's a very delicate area of your body as the shoulders because it's just not supported by a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that I probably don't do the best warm-ups, but I actually probably warm up more on that day than I do any other day because of the fact that I know how delicate my shoulders are and playing softball and
Right.
wanting to not be injured and keep playing. That's probably why I do that.
Right.
I don't warm up hardly at all for legs, to be honest with you.
Wow. Yeah.
But then again, I always think like when I'm walking, I'm basically warming up because you're always using your muscles in your leg pretty much every day.
Right.
Just walking. So that's the
Absolutely.
way I kind of feel about that. So today was back day for you. Today was shoulder day for me. And now I want to go on to back to the kind of the team sports.
Yeah.
You said I got my outfit picked out for the podcast today.
That's right.
And you're like, I got this new jersey. I'm going to wear it. And I said, I'll bring out the throwback. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, I got an old school Lakers Shaquille O'Neal jersey on that just barely fits. And you got the old Buzz City. What is that, LaMelo Ball?
This is a LaMelo Ball, yeah. So I love Shaquille O'Neal, and anybody that watches TNT has to be a huge Shaquille O'Neal
Right, yes.
and Charles Barkley fan.
Yeah, I heard
So-
Charles is retiring now.
I know. I hope he changes his mind.
They were always
because-
giving each other crap all the time.
Yeah, that's very high quality television. They have a perfect group of guys together, and I don't know, they just blend so well, and they complement each other, which is great.
I know
So-
it's hilarious because, well, everyone's giving Charles Barkley crap all the time because he plays golf like crap, he
Yeah.
eats like crap.
Yeah. Yeah, he's such an amazing personality because if you watched him or if you watched tape on him when he was in the NBA, he was one of the best. I mean, at the
I
time he
know.
played, he was one of the best, which is interesting because if you kind of watch him move around now, you wouldn't. It's hard to imagine that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he
I
was,
know.
and he also featured in Space Jam, which is cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
you
right.
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of players that were in that one.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Jordan was in it. It was Barkley. I think Larry Johnson was in it. Was Larry Bird in it?
Larry Bird,
I can't remember all. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Sean Bradley. Big Sean,
yeah, Sean
7'8",
Bradley,
yeah,
yes.
7'8" guy from the Dallas Mavericks. Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah,
if
Muggsy
you
was
remember,
in it too.
One of the I don't know. He's one of the shortest players to ever play in the NBA, which is
Like between him and Spud Webbish,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, but I'm pretty sure Muggsy was.
Yep.
There was another one. Gosh, who was it? I don't think it was Spud, and it wasn't Muggsy. There was one other one. But anyways,
yeah,
I have, this is actually funny. Some people that have been listening and watching, you know that I'm kind of into sports trading cards, which is fun. But I bought this old 1991 Skybox card, just a whole carton of cards, basically, unopened. I opened them up. His real name is Tyrone Bogues.
really,
Yeah.
wow,
So before, it must have been like one of his first years, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I opened it up. I'm like, that's Muggsy Bogues. And I look on the bottom, it says Tyrone Bogues. I'm like, that must be his real name. So
Wow.
Muggsy must just be obviously a nickname. I don't think anybody would name their kid Muggsy.
I wouldn't think so.
You never know. But
You
yeah,
never know.
I got a couple of those cards that says Tyrone Bogues on it, which is hilarious. And he played for the Charlotte Hornets too.
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah,
And-
yeah. I don't know this jersey. I decided on a LaMelo Ball jersey. I think it's because he's just a really young and kind of up and coming player.
Yeah, right.
And that's pretty inspiring to see somebody in the NBA that can come from all these expectations that his dad put on him with the whole. I think they had a show called Ball in the Family.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and he actually has a brother that also plays in the NBA.
Yep.
So they just have a very athletic family, and he has a very high ceiling. But along with that high ceiling, high expectations too.
That's right. So is you like one of your favorite players then?
Yeah, he is.
Somebody you like to watch?
Yeah, he's somebody I love to watch. He's playing for a small market team, of course, in Charlotte.
Sure,
they're very
sure.
small market, and it's neat for the city. The team brings a lot in. A lot of revenue,
Yep.
a lot of hope for that city. So they don't have a ton of great teams, obviously, in the Carolinas.
Not many. I mean, what do you got? The Carolina Panthers. They went
Yeah.
1 in something maybe.
Yeah, they did.
Charlotte Hornets. They actually, remember they moved out and then they became, I think, the Charlotte Bobcats at one point.
Yep.
And then I think they got bought out and then went to the Pelicans and then they refranchised or something. So
Yeah, and I know that Michael Jordan was a part of that.
Bobcats.
Rebuild, yeah. And then
Yeah.
he owned a portion of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool to see somebody like Jordan involved in helping
You know, the
the
thing
team.
is, people probably don't even realize that because Michael Jordan's so far past. But Michael Jordan's from the Carolinas.
Yeah, he is.
Because someone might go, well, why isn't he part owner of the Bulls? I mean, look at that. Well, he's not from Chicago, technically. He's
Right.
from North Carolina. So buying
Yeah.
into Charlotte would make the most sense.
Yeah,
Because,
that's right.
I mean, they're not a fantastic. And thing is, people probably go, well, geez, if Jordan's back in this, they should be a good team.
Right.
Well, he's not playing either. You can only scout what you know, and that's the tough part. Whenever, this is what we're going so far off topic, but that's okay. That's what the podcast is about.
That's right.
Anytime I ever see like trades of like, oh, well, they're going to get a first-round pick next year, I'm like, that first-round pick could be junk.
Yeah.
I mean, Timberwolves always pick junk until most recently.
Right.
Now we got Anthony Edwards, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So now, are you a Charlotte fan or are you a Bulls fan? Because you're from Illinois.
So I actually grew up an Indiana Pacers fan because of Reggie Miller.
Sure. And they're not that far away either. It's not
No,
like
yeah. From where I live, Indianapolis is only about an hour and a half.
How far is Chicago?
See, Chicago is about 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And with traffic, it can be 2:45, 3 hours.
Because you live where in Illinois?
I live down in Danville. So Danville is about 30 minutes to the east of Champaign, which is where the University of Illinois is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're actually technically closer to Indiana.
Yeah.
Which that would make sense too, but Reggie Miller was pretty cool too.
Right. Well, and Champaign is also, I wanted to give a shout out to Kraft Macaroni and Cheese because on your last podcast with your uncle, who's a truck driver, he used to travel to Champaign from Minnesota, I believe, right?
Yep. Well, he lives over just up the river in Wisconsin, technically.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, he would load up wherever he needed to go. And yes, you're right. You picked that out, and I forgot all about that. And you're like, yeah, it's right down by me.
Yep.
I'm like, oh,
yep.
Cool.
I'm a subscriber to Brews and Crews. I really enjoy this podcast, and so it's great to be on.
It's actually funny. I think I have you on Snapchat. I was listening. You were sending, I think you put out like a video of you traveling to Minnesota with the sun going down. I'm pretty sure I heard the podcast in the background, which was the one with my uncle. I couldn't make it out to be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure you were listening to the podcast as you were doing that.
Yeah, the sunsets, I don't know what it is about the sunsets in Minnesota, but the sun actually stays up longer it seems like as you travel north. Last night I was actually out and it was like 9:45 and the sun was still up.
Yeah.
So the sunsets are just breathtaking up here. So traveling north, the sun was actually setting right over the highway, and it was just a big giant ball, and the sky was just perfect orange, and it was beautiful. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you're in Winona, clearly it goes down a little earlier because we're underneath the bluffs here.
Yeah.
But if you're up on the interstate, it goes right down because it's mostly flat with all the farm fields.
Yeah, I think this was actually driving just past Wisconsin Dells area.
Yep.
So
I think that's where you were.
Pretty flat, decently open area.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember when you were younger, you used to come up here and go, oh, you guys' mountains are so nice.
Yeah.
Like, these are just bluffs, man. They're only like 500 feet.
Yep.
So you must have a pretty flat area where you live down in Danville.
So these up in Minnesota, these are mountains compared to anything that we see.
Yeah.
I grew up in Illinois, so a lot of flat land, a lot of cornfields, a lot of bean fields. Not a ton of hills, honestly.
No.
So these bluffs are pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that us just natives here, we kind of take it all for granted of what it actually looks like and what we're actually seeing. And then having the river literally in our backyard, basically, is something that most people never get to experience because they're like, oh, we're going to go to the lake this weekend or whatever. I'm like, man, that sounds really boring unless you're on like probably a giant lake, which I've never been to, like Lake of the Ozarks or anything like that. I've never been there. So that probably is cool. But on the river, we can travel from town to town rather than just sitting in one giant pool. But obviously there's a difference between the Winona lakes compared to maybe Lake of the Ozarks. And I've never been there, so I don't know what that's even like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my brother actually he was at the Lake of the Ozarks about a year ago for a bachelor party. It's a great place if you want to spend 3 or 4 days and just really get out on the water.
Sure.
I think you can actually rent pontoons,
I'm sure you
jet
can.
skis, all that. You have a nice cabin right on the water. So yeah, it's definitely it's on my bucket list.
I'd be a little nervous to rent a boat that I don't own. I'd be very nervous.
Yeah, that's an expensive piece of machinery. To say the least.
Well, yeah, and then if you don't know how to operate it,
right.
Sometimes I'm surprised they actually let that happen. It's not like driving a car.
No.
Certain boats are different. Pontoon rides different than an open bow boat that rides different than a yacht.
Yeah.
They just all ride differently.
Yeah, they all have different nuance, and they all react differently to certain, wake. I mean, it's amazing. Even jet skis,
Sure.
It's a whole different ball game. You might be able to ride a 4-wheeler, but you're on land.
Yeah.
Jet skis just handle completely different because they're obviously on water, and
Yeah.
and some of them are very fast.
I know. I got
so-
like a 65, but
Yeah.
there's a guy that I know that'll open them up and they'll go about 80 miles an hour. I'm like, holy cow, you fall for that.
Yeah.
You're skipping across the water quite a bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So now the reason I chose is I had about 10 of them that I was deciding between. And I was like, well, you know what? The Lakers, because they used to be based in Minneapolis, which is where.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's why they're called the Lakers.
Oh, okay.
You really didn't know that?
No, I just learned that
No.
just now.
All right. Well, everyone's learning today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why they're called the Lakers, because they used to be the Minneapolis Lakers, which makes sense because we're the land of 10,000 lakes, even though it's like 11 plus thousand.
That makes sense.
So then they got bought out and they went over to LA.
a
'cause-
long time ago.
Oh, very long
A
time.
long
I would
time
say
ago.
probably like 50s, probably.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
there was a guy named, you probably heard of George Mikan, because I'm sure you've done the Mikan
Yeah,
deal before.
yeah.
Well, he was like the best player for the Minneapolis Lakers of all time.
Okay.
And so that's that Mikan drill. You go up on the right hand side, grab the ball, left hand,
Go up on
and
the
you just
left.
keep going for like a minute and see how many you can do.
Yep. Very short range.
Yep.
It's a great way to warm up. If you're a basketball player, Micah drills are great to warm up. You should always start very close to the hoop and just slowly work your way back. Steph Curry actually practices like that.
That's good,
Before
yeah.
every game, he just starts close and just works his way back to, of course, Steph Curry range, which
Well, see, now you learned something that George Mikan was from the Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers are re-franchised out in LA, which obviously history speaks for itself. And the Timberwolves are now, since '89, have been in Minneapolis or in Minnesota.
Wow.
And they have yet to get a championship, but they were
Yeah.
close this year. So
yeah, the Timberwolves, it was very exciting watching just such a young team.
I hope they stick together.
Yeah, if they stick together, I mean, they'll be in the postseason for at least 3 or 4 or 5 years to come.
Well, if Minnesota history of sports is let's build up our best guy and then get rid of him for little to nothing.
Yeah.
Or a couple draft picks, which like I was just saying earlier, it's like, well, that could be a crapshoot, man.
Right.
You're not always going to get a Michael Jordan or an Anthony Edwards out of that. You never know what you're going to end up with.
Right.
I mean, we've had the number 1 draft pick of not quite a few, but a few times, and
Yeah.
they've never panned out yet.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is a special player. A lot of people are comparing him to Michael Jordan, which
know.
that doesn't happen often.
Even Jordan was supposedly saying it.
Yeah,
So you're right, though.
yeah.
'Cause I don't think he had that high hopes for LeBron either.
Yeah, he's. I mean, Anthony Edwards, to see him jump that high, dunk on anyone,
Sure.
is Jordan-esque.
Dude, that one against the Jazz was sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
So cool.
I mean, it's you don't see that a lot because a lot of guys in the NBA, they're trying to save their body so that they can play for a long time.
Right, yep.
Or preparing for a contract year or whatever it is.
Yeah, they play
And-
accordingly.
When you see these guys like Anthony Edwards just, put their body on the line, kind of like what if you watched Russell Westbrook when he first came in the
Yes.
league.
He's jump out of the building.
Yeah. And he played for a small market team too, Oklahoma City Thunder,
Yep.
with James Harden, Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Those three. So it's kind of the same thing. It's similar at least to what Karl Anthony Towns, who's the other guy? Who's Rudy Gobert?
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Yep, he's good.
If those three can stay together and they can kind of just piece guys around them, positional players.
Well, there was talks about them getting rid of Cat or trading for someone else.
Okay.
I don't know how much truth there is to that. I mean, that was
Yeah.
just some things that were put on Facebook. So
That would
some
be
people
tough.
were not happy with him, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
But-
because he's a great player, especially as big body, guy to have down in the paint.
See, here's the thing that the Timberwolves, in my mind, need, and some of my buddies were saying the same thing. They need someone that can take the pressure off of Anthony Edwards, because when he did not have a great night, it shut down the whole team roughly. I mean,
Right.
he barely even showed up in the last series because they were just shutting him down and nobody else was really filling in. So that was a tough thing for them.
Yeah.
What's the next flavor we should try?
Oh yeah. So I would say let's go for the cherry limeade, which is the
This one?
That's
All
the
right,
dark
cherry limeade. All right. Oh wait, I got us water so we can wash out the after flavor
red.
of the last one.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, cherry limeade is actually it's kind of got some spice to it, I guess is how I would describe it.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a
I
great
look
flavor.
forward to that.
Yeah, cherry and lime. It's just an interesting mix. I would assume that Dwayne Johnson had a lot to do with these flavor combos, and so cherry limeade. Yeah.
You know
one of my
what?
favorites.
You know what I wonder is when someone endorses. Hold on. Ah, yes. When someone endorses something like this, my thought is how much influence do they really have on it? Like, are they Are they sitting back there and they're getting all their every move?
Thanks.
Or are they, you want to put that in with water?
Just a little bit,
Like
because this is now going to be my third of the day.
Yes, distill it. So you're going to be amped go for another workout.
Yeah, we're definitely working with, I think this is our third, so yeah.
I can kind of smell that spice in it.
Yeah. So the cherry limeade is it's definitely my top 2 flavors. When they released that flavor, that got me excited because, there's your average flavors, but what Zoa does is really unique because Dwayne Johnson, like I said, he has that Hawaiian kind of background.
Right, yep.
And Hawaii is filled with, variety. Like I think especially pineapple. That's a great supplier of pineapples. What's the name of is it Dole? The Dole Pineapple Plantation is in Hawaii?
It's possible, but I know what Dole is, so
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
So a lot of fruit combos that I guess in Illinois we don't hear a lot of.
Right.
Things like limes, things like cherries together.
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like lime. Cherry is like my okay flavor, but you pair it with lime and it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
It's got like us. Ooh, we got thunderstorms coming in on the podcast. I don't know if anybody can hear that. I don't think they can pick it up that well, but if you heard that, that was actually thunder. I thought it was a semi riding by.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get just nailed with rain.
We are.
I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. Do you guys have rivers around your area? I can't remember. I was down there one time.
Yeah, we have rivers, but they're streams compared to what's
Okay.
just a half a block
Yeah, right.
behind this studio.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, like, we're getting pounded with rainstorms up north. So
Yeah.
now the boating season is kind of on hold, which sucks because it's the end of June.
yeah.
And our boating season doesn't last that long, as you may or may not be aware of up here.
Yeah, I was on the river last night, just right on that. Is it the river walk that you guys have? The levee?
Oh, yeah, the levee.
Levee Park.
Oh, it was over that.
And the water's 10 feet higher than what I'm used to.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think our marinas actually, I just saw today, is getting shut down for a couple days.
Right.
Just due to the high waters. Not that our boats won't float.
Yeah.
It's just not safe.
That current is pretty gnarly. Yeah.
See, now last year we went from flooding in the beginning of the year to where it held off everything until about the end of May. Now this year we had great weather to start with, and now we're just getting hammered with rain this year, and now it's the end of June coming up here. By the time this releases, it'll be the beginning of July, but now our boating season's put on hold again, so it kind of stinks at the same time. But
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I was going somewhere with this, and I don't even remember. I was going back. I wonder how much influence Dwayne Johnson actually has on this. Like, do they call him and say, "Hey, Dwayne, what's going on, man? We got some flavors here. You need to try this," or what do you think should be in this? Or
Right.
I wonder how much is actually put on him
Yeah.
to do this, or is he just the guy that's like, "I'm going to be able to sell this for you, so here we go."
Right. Yeah. And I always wonder the same thing too. I think Dwayne Johnson has a great personality.
Yeah.
He's involved in a lot of different things. I mean, he's in cartoons.
He's in everything.
He has guest cameos in just a ton. He has a lot of endorsements. And to me, he's a great guy to use because people love him.
You know what's funny about that?
He's loved. That guy is loved.
Oh, I know he is, and that's where I'm going with this. He's loved to the point where he could play a bad guy in a movie,
Right.
And people still go and watch it and they'll like it. And he could be the Tooth Fairy or whatever it was. He played a Tooth Fairy movie one time.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He played in The Game Plan, which was kind of like a family friendly
I
one.
love the game plan.
So he's got like this wide range of everything.
Right.
It's
does.
nuts.
Yeah. Is it Moana? Is that the
Now
movie?
it's the cartoon. I've never seen it, but I know that's what it is.
Yeah, Moana's great, and
you
just
seen it?
the storyline. I've seen it a lot of times. Yeah,
Okay.
I've got young niece and nephews that love Moana. Yeah, Moana's kind of a musical Disney movie. So he sings, of course. Dwayne Johnson, The Journey to the Center of the Earth is another one.
Sure.
That's kind of a kids movie, kind of adventure based, and then of course a lot of the Fast and Furious movies that he's in.
I don't think he was in the last one, though, this past one. I don't think he was in the one.
Yeah, he's just incredible because, like you said, he can kind of play the bad guy. He can play the good guy.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything he really can't do. I don't know.
I mean, if you make it around him and he's that good, it ain't going to matter. He'll just do it and people are going to go watch it.
Right.
The other one that's kind of coming up is now John Cena, which he's getting there. He's just not there yet, I don't think. But I like him in comedy movies.
Right.
I would rather watch John Cena in a comedy movie than an action movie because when he was in wrestling full time. He
Right.
did some good comedy. It was hilarious. It
Yeah.
was just funny as could be.
Yeah, I think for the listeners, a great movie to watch a young Rock in is definitely, you said earlier, Game Plan.
Yeah,
Game
I
Plan
always
is-
liked that one.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. It's I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to be a
That's
spoiler.
okay. Spoil it. It's like what is it? Like
But-
15 years old
Yeah, it's definitely young Dwayne, and it's really cool because
hair. With
yeah,
hair.
he has hair. And for those that don't believe me, you can Google that right
Yeah,
now.
he used
and
to have
check.
hair.
So, but yeah, he on that movie he stars as a football player, which he was a college football player.
Yep,
With aspirations to play in the NFL. He really wanted to be an NFL football player.
that's right.
But I think he realized, I don't know if it was, I think it was when he was in college, he realized that he wasn't going to be able to play in the NFL. I don't know why. Do you know why?
He went to the CFL
That's right.
for about 1 year,
Okay.
and I don't think you make any money really there.
Yeah.
And he always had that backup of, well, my dad was a professional wrestler.
Right.
Maybe I'll try that.
Okay.
Well, it's probably a good thing he did do that because look at where it all brought him to.
Yeah. Yeah. And back to, the Zoa energy and how much influence these guys have on the energy drinks. I actually think that Dwayne had a very big influence on Zoa energy because it's kind of referencing even the name Zoa, where that comes from. It kind of references that Samoan background, which anybody that knows or follows Dwayne Johnson knows that he is he's very passionate about his background.
Yeah, his heritage, he's big into that.
His heritage is big. He actually has a tattoo that covers most of his upper body.
Yep.
That is, of course, a tribal
That's right.
tattoo.
Yep.
So and if anybody that knows what happened to Hawaii, that storm that hit, what was the town's name?
Maui.
Or
The
was
one
it-
where the
okay.
fires happened?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
funny thing is Maui did get hit with fires.
Yeah.
My
And
wife,
there was wind that blew,
Yeah.
just expanded the, yeah.
my wife and I we had our honeymoon. We took a Hawaiian cruise from Canada to Hawaii, and we were supposed to spend 2 nights in Maui.
Wow.
But they had to reroute us because of the fires that just happened there.
Right.
I think it was last July, August area, and we went in October. But
Yeah.
I guess that supposedly it wasn't well worth going to, and so
Yeah.
we never got to go there. So all I ever got to was the mainland of Kauai, which is where Honolulu's at.
Right.
So it was cool, but I only got to spend 36 hours ish in Hawaii when I was expecting to spend about half of our vacation there, honeymoon there. But we did get to see a lot of Canada, which was cool.
Yeah.
Because we left from Vancouver, and that's like the Miami of Canada. Just like, I don't know if you know this, I said this on a podcast prior. Winona is the Miami of Minnesota, supposedly.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if it's because it gets a little warmer here than normal. Maybe it's because we're down and all the wind escapes us. We don't have much wind here all
Right.
the time, like they do up on the bluff.
Right.
Because we're 600-ish feet down. But
Yeah.
we're the Miami of Minnesota, and Vancouver was the Miami of Canada. So when we were there, it was actually beautiful weather. It was like 70 degrees and sunny every stop. So I'm like, okay, this could have been worse.
Right.
They said if we'd have come a week prior, it was like 55 and just rain there because a lot of rain happens on Vancouver because they're on the west side of Canada.
Yeah.
So it's that marine tropic type weather, and not tropic, I'm sorry, the marine type weather where it's a lot of foggy, hazy, rainy days. And so
Right.
we actually got rerouted. We went to Seattle was one of them. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was actually okay with, I say this, I was okay that we got rerouted for this reason because I will probably never, ever go to Canada again in my life if I don't have to.
Right.
I'll probably never go to Seattle again in my life, but I will always say I'm okay with going to Hawaii. So
Right.
I'll most likely see Hawaii at some point in my life again.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I was like, well, Seattle was actually a really cool place. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but we went to the Space Needle. It was amazing.
I have not been to Seattle yet. That's on my bucket list, though. It's a really interesting city with a lot of really interesting climate.
Yes.
well.
It's not, it usually doesn't get too cold,
Yeah.
but it doesn't usually get too hot. It's
Right.
like right in the middle, and it's a lot of hazy, rainy days.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's just because of where they're located. But
Yeah.
we were up in the Space Needle, and once the fog started clearing, you could see, I believe it was Mount Rainier. It was really neat. I thought it was just a bunch of line of fog
Yeah.
and clouds. And no, it was mountains.
Wow.
Like real mountains, not these ones out here.
Yeah, and one thing about the West Coast, especially the trees that people, what's the name of the the park out there with some of the tallest trees in the world.
Was it redwood?
The redwood forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
I would love to go to the redwood forest as well, which isn't terribly far from Seattle,
No,
considering.
I don't think so. I think it's in the
Yeah.
northern part of California.
Yeah.
So it's Washington and it's Oregon and then it's California.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, you ever been any, like?
I have been to California, but we didn't make it to the redwood forest. We
Okay.
did a tour where we started at the southern point of California,
Oh,
and then we
really?
worked our way north. And
How
that
far
was
north?
That was a lot of fun. We went to San Francisco,
Okay.
which was you could spend a long time in San Francisco.
Sure.
There's a lot of really neat spots there. But yeah, when we were down in Huntington Beach, that's actually where I learned how to surf,
Okay.
and that was when I was 16 years old.
You any good at it?
Yeah, yeah, I still surf to this day. I
Oh,
surf
really?
every year. Yeah.
Where at? Just
So I like to surf when we go to Florida, which we usually go to Florida, if not every year, every other year. I surf on the Atlantic coast.
Yep.
So Cocoa Beach area, I surf on a 7-foot board. So it's not Kelly Slater yet on the
Well,
6 foot
so
or the
you're
5.5
gonna-
foot board. But
you're gonna have to go back. You're gonna go back. Hold on
Yeah.
before you go on.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was difference in boards. So
Okay, okay.
what would Kelly Slater be using compared to what you're using?
Yeah, so
lengthwise.
on the pro tour, these guys are surfing on very, very short boards because
Okay.
they've been surfing since they were young. They
Sure.
were kids. A lot of these guys grew up where a beach is just minutes away. So they were just always in the water. And you would typically start on a long board. The longer the board, the easier it is to stand up on. Now, the shorter the board, once you get into these 6 foot, 5.5 foot boards, the more you can turn quicker on a dime. So if you're on a wave and you're trying to cut into a barrel, you want a 5.5, 6 foot board so you can make that cut. A long board is more, just getting your center of gravity down, figuring out how to duck paddle, figuring out how to push up off of that board is easier. But yeah, these guys, the Kelly Slaters of the world, they're on shorter boards. Yeah.
Okay, so you're on a 7-foot board. Is that a very long one or not really? Or what's the longest one you would go on?
So 7 foot is, that's definitely getting into the expert range for someone that only surfs once or twice a year.
Sure.
You have to really know how to keep your body centered. So you have to have a very strong core, and you have to know how to stand up based on how close the wave is behind you. You have to know timing. There's a lot of things that goes into it. But yeah, surfing is something that's hopefully, I think about 3 weeks I'll be down there. So,
Oh, are you going again?
Yeah.
Where do you normally go then when you're down there?
So Daytona Beach area, which Cocoa Beach area, so right there along the Atlantic coast.
Sure.
So yeah.
Do you have people you go down there and visit, or that's just where you go?
Yeah. So we actually have been going down there as a family since I was about 3 years old.
All right.
So it's something that does bring all of us together. I have an older sister, I have a younger brother, and of course my mom and dad and my niece and nephews, and we all just go down there together. Yeah.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah. It's a very good vacation spot. A lot of sun, of course. Florida is it's a great time. It's hard to go down there and have a bad time.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Anything that's warm for me that's vacation.
Right.
So that's why I was iffy when we were in Canada. I'm like, I want to go on vacation.
Right.
Because to me, we already get enough cold weather up here. I don't need more.
Yeah.
So I always like to go down south if that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where you'd want to go too.
Yeah, and I think I started boogie boarding, which anybody that knows Florida, there's skim boarding, which is right there on the sand, where the water's about 3 inches deep.
Okay.
That's usually a wooden board that you just kind of slide in front of you and then jump on, and you're just skimming the water.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
A lot of people do that. And then you get into boogie boarding, which is about a 3 foot long styrofoam board usually.
Okay.
And you don't need to be very far out in the water. And you can just kind of ride these short waves into the beach.
Sure.
But as you get older, you realize like there's some big waves out there. Like just, once you get 150 feet out, that's where the big break is. Mm-hmm. And especially when you go along like a jetty, which a jetty is a rock formation that goes really, really far out into the water, usually separates an inlet, and it helps break a current. And so what happens when they put that long rock formation out there is it causes these big giant waves to come in often and regular. So you'll see 30, 40 surfers there every day on it right next to a jetty. So yeah.
So that helps the waves then come in?
Yeah,
better?
it causes a huge undertow, a huge undercurrent, which causes waves to build out in the ocean, and then just a really big break for basically a surfer's paradise.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about getting stuck out there?
Yeah. So I would
taking out to
recommend
sea.
anybody that wants to learn how to surf, practice being a strong swimmer first, because
It's a good idea.
because
for
the
anyone.
board is connected to you by a leash. You have a leash that connects the surfboard to your ankle, and that leash is usually around 8 feet long, 6 to 8 feet long.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about losing your board, but you do need to know how to swim and be a strong swimmer, because the undercurrent in an ocean can be really gnarly, depending on what time of day you're out there, and of course depending on what's going on out in the ocean.
Yep.
Sometimes there's storms, which people love to surf during storms because the waves are big. So
Sounds good.
yeah.
I'm gonna stop right there for a second. I want to make
Yeah.
sure everything's still recording. I had a phone call come through.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to be sitting here.
Right.
No content happening at the moment.
Right.
Oh, this is still going.
All right.
45 minutes.
Yeah. See how easy it is to just go for.
No, we're still good. So,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna. You mind if we open up more cans?
Let's
'Cause I know
go.
that
Yeah.
You're like, I'm already all like.
No,
I'm all amped already.
Yeah, one thing about Zoa is that even though there is a lot of caffeine, it's still only half of what, and we're splitting these two, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still only half of what the mainstream big guys are. So
All right, we're gonna start again. And I'm just gonna cut this
yeah,
out.
yep.
All right, so I'm gonna head into the next. What flavor should we do next?
Yeah, so I would say
So we've touched on cherry limeade. We had the tropical. We've done.
right.
What do we got left?
We got strawberry and grape, and I think the strawberry is a double flavor. Is it a combo?
Strawberry watermelon.
Strawberry watermelon. Yeah, let's go. Do you want to? You pick.
Grape.
Grape. Okay.
I usually like grape. Grape's one of my favorite flavors when it comes to things like this.
Yeah.
But watermelon's one of my favorite flavors when it comes to Bubblicious. However, real watermelon in real life, not that big of a fan of.
Right. Yeah, grape is a new flavor. It's not been out too long, so.
So we were just talking just a moment ago, a while ago actually, about these have 160 milligrams in it. Now, it's not much when you're comparing it to other pre-workouts, but if you're comparing it to a cup of coffee, it's considerably more.
Right.
Because most people, they wake up and go, I need my coffee, and usually what they mean is I need my caffeine is all they're saying.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, an average glass of coffee is like maybe 60 milligrams.
Yes. Yep. That's all.
And that's about what I think a Pepsi is too. So this has got, so we didn't even read the back of the can off, but for those who are wondering, the back of the can, there's only 10 calories in this whole entire can, 110 milligrams of sodium, carbs are 2, and there's literally nothing else in this. No sugar, nothing. And then not only that, you have potassium, 60 milligrams. So you have some potassium, vitamin C, you got 100% of your vitamin C.
Yeah, sugar-free is a big deal for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that go on low sugar diets. So I think Zoa is a great option for people that are trying to watch their sugar.
Well, and for me, sugar just gets me bloated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell people if I had to have anything, I'd rather have salt than sugar for a flavor.
Right.
If you had to choose between the two.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I like my beer, and beer and sugar just not a good combo.
Yeah, and there's sugar in a lot of things that we buy from the grocery store. Sugar,
yes.
even naturally, there's a lot of sugar in things like fruit. There's a lot of sugar in a lot of carbohydrates that we, a lot of our carbs that we have.
Yep.
There's a lot of sugar in that. So
Well, and the thing is, I always tell when I teach health class to students, I always say, hey, if you want the healthiest food, you walk around the outside of the store because that's usually where all your fresher stuff is. Fruits, vegetables, all that kind of stuff. Everything in the middle aisles is usually a lot of preservatives. You got crackers, stuff like that could sit on a shelf for months and be
That's
fine.
right, yeah.
Whereas a banana, those are usually good for a week, and then you got to throw them off if you don't eat them all. So
Yeah.
I always tell people if you're going to shop healthy, the best thing to do is to usually go around the outside because that's like where your milks are, your yogurts, your meats, your vegetables, your fruits.
your proteins.
Yeah, basically the good stuff for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we live in a really hurry environment.
Oh yes.
A lot of people are just in a rush a lot of times because there's only so many hours in a day. So
That's true.
it's definitely, as you get older, you realize how being healthy and living a healthy life is a challenge sometimes. And so
Well, I like convenience.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that you got your diet probably down to almost a T because
Yeah.
you have a coach, as you said.
Yeah.
Does he help you with the diet at all, or does he help you just with the working out?
Yeah, and so I was really excited to talk about my coach because I
Nice.
think it's really important to have somebody that's walking with you.
Yep.
My brother, I wanted to kind of feature this phrase. It's better to go in a group, right? Like it's better to walk with people that have a similar mindset and a similar goal set. What's the phrase? It's better to, I think it's about walking fast, like getting somewhere fast versus going somewhere in a group. I can't remember the phrase.
That's all good. But
Man.
yeah, you're right. If you have a group of people around you, they're going to help you succeed most likely, as long as they're all like-minded people, that is.
Yeah, like-mindedness is big.
Because there's also groups of people that could be virus to you.
Right. Yeah.
They're telling you, oh yeah, well maybe you should focus on something else, or
Yeah.
this is worthless. Whatever. They may not be on the same track as you. So finding like-minded people, though.
Oh, here's the phrase. It's better if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Okay.
And I thought about that because I know that obviously exercising can, sometimes be something you do alone. Sometimes you can exercise in a group or you can exercise with your friend. But they're not always going to be available.
That's right.
And if you want to do this for a long time and be successful, you have to be willing to exercise alone at times, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to work out alone. Sometimes you can get it done faster.
Sure.
But what I noticed specifically about having a coach is really having that motivation and somebody just holding you accountable, but also encouraging you. So there's positive reinforcement along the way, and it's a daily and a weekly contact that you can count on too.
Is it someone that you know personally?
Yeah. So
Okay.
This is actually someone that's from the same town as I am, and he has dedicated his adult life to health and wellness and fitness. So he's a coach. He has quite a few clients that he works with. So
Well, give him a shout out. Who is it?
yeah. So his name is Joey Haywood, and
right.
you can look him up on Instagram. He's amazing. He's somebody that not only is he my weight trainer in the gym that writes my regimens, writes my weight training program, but he also writes my grocery list. So when I go grocery shopping, I don't have to go, with a confusion mindset. I actually have an idea. I have a list where I can just
That's awesome.
go down the way. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because most people are like, okay, what am I going to have on Monday? What am I going to have on Tuesday? You're like,
Right.
I already know. It's right here. I just get there and go get it all.
Yeah, and what's really cool about him, I think having a coach sometimes for a lot of newbies can be intimidating.
Yes,
Because-
because some people are intimidated just to go into the gym. And I tell people all the time, I go, you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And just when I started working out, I played sports just like you. I would be in the gym, not hitting the weights hard, but I would go there because my dad would be in there, and I would just go and maybe lift a few things when I'm in middle school.
Yeah.
I got big into it in 2006, which was my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
Well, I remember this very distinctly. It was November. I was just getting bored, getting a little fat in college, not overweight by any means, but I was like, what am I doing? I'm literally just sitting in my dorm room. I come home from class, I'd go sit in my dorm room, do the homework or whatever it was, and then I had nothing to do. I'm like, this is really kind of lame. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Eventually I said, well, I'm not playing sports in college, besides I was playing golf at the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe just hit up the weight room. Okay. Started working out. The football team's in there.
Okay.
So they're pushing 315 on the bench press, and I'm sitting there with a 25 on the side, and I'm like,
Right.
if I can do this, there's no reason why someone else can't come in and do it. And
Right.
guess what? Not one of those guys ever came up and said, hey, you little wimp.
Yeah.
No, they didn't even pay two minds. And I can almost guarantee when you go to the gym, you're probably not paying two minds to anybody else because you're already focused on what you're there to do.
Right.
And that's the thing I think people worry. They think everyone's looking at them,
Right. And
judging them.
My coach, he always breaks it down for a lot of people that if you want something, just go after it with your whole heart.
Yeah.
And he talks about passion. And those are kind of the building blocks of success really in almost every part of life.
Yep.
Is that if you're passionate about it and you have that drive, the only thing that's going to stop you is yourself. right? Like I think we get in our own way a lot, or we make excuses of, well, I just don't have enough time to work out. Mm-hmm. Or I'm not willing to set aside the time.
Yeah.
Or wake up early. I want to sleep in. I don't want to wake up early. And so, yeah, it's really interesting having a coach. And I think now I've been working with him for about 3 months now. And just in these past 3 months, he's completely changed the way I grocery shop, which is cool.
What's one thing that's different about your grocery shopping now than compared to before?
Yeah, so I'm learning a lot about different types of foods that you can get energy from.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay.
A lot of people rely on things like caffeine for energy. Yeah.
Yes.
Which obviously we're endorsing today. Caffeine is very
but
important.
hold on. We're getting it from green tea extract and green coffee bean.
And Camu.
Whatever
Shout
that
out.
is.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
Research
is.
that a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of energy that comes from, carbohydrates, things like rice, things like sweet potatoes, just those two. Mm-hmm. I like to focus on. They're a big piece of. They're a big food group that works for me.
Yeah,
So.
I call them like. When I think about that kind of stuff, it's like cleaner energy.
Yeah.
Because some people go, "Oh, I'll just take a sugar packet." I'm like, that's terrible.
Right.
Because that's just. I mean. Yeah, you're going to wear it off, but it's going to wear off too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're probably going to burn that. Because I remember as a kid, here's a pixie stick.
Yeah.
This will give you some energy. It's like a short burst of energy.
Yep.
And not that's going to sit in my system and become fat, but it's just like I'm going to have this spurt and then it's going to come right back down.
Right.
And you might even be dogging worse afterwards.
I think my biggest change once I hired Joey as my coach was eating bagels in the morning.
Really?
You can get 600 plus calories just out of one bagel.
Sure.
And if you cut it in half, throw some eggs in between, throw some cream cheese on that, you're up. Now you're at 850, 900 calories. So if you are trying to bulk and trying to gain weight, bagels is a great place to start. Yeah.
So for you, was it harder to put on some mass? Because I remember as you were younger, you were a lot taller and lankier.
Right.
So was it hard for you to put on that muscle? That's why you needed more calories in your system?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how often I needed to be eating. I think I was eating at the wrong times of day.
Sure.
And I definitely wasn't eating enough. So yeah, for a lot of young lifters that are small and really lanky, right? You're over 6 foot and you're trying to put on mass.
Yeah.
You gotta be willing to eat, because protein and supplementation will only take you so far if you're not getting enough food. So
Sure.
yeah.
So how many times a day do you eat?
So I eat 5 times a day.
All right.
And that looks like 3 full meals and 2 snack meals.
Okay.
Yeah. So breakfast is big. I would say that if you can commit to making 1 meal a day, I would say commit to breakfast.
Okay.
And then have the rest meal prepped. Commit to 2 days of meal prep, and that'll get you where you need to go.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to be willing to cook breakfast at least every day. Just have a routine. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what do you normally work out in the evening, or is it the morning, or does it fluctuate?
It fluctuates, yeah, because it depends on what you have going on. As an adult,
Right.
I mean, you might have an extracurricular at night that you're doing. If it's softball, if
Yep.
it's hanging out with friends, your family, whatever it is, right? You got to be willing to schedule in your workouts.
Yep.
And sometimes that can look like a morning workout, and sometimes that might look like afternoon. Sometimes it might look like a late night workout as well. So you got to be willing to be versatile with your scheduling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you prefer one of them more than the other?
Yeah, so I don't know why, but yeah, afternoon workouts, I find that I get a lot more energy.
Okay.
I think that sometimes in the morning I might not be all the way woke up, and sometimes late at night I'm just really winding down.
Sure.
So afternoon, if it was a perfect world that we live in, I would work out in the afternoon every workout.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I started about 6-7 years ago. I started going at 4:45, 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was only because my schedule started getting so crazy with not only teaching but the real estate aspect of things. I could have something come up in the middle of the day and they're like, I gotta go show a house, I gotta write up an offer, and now all of a sudden the gym might not be open because I'm at the YMCA. Well, nowadays there's a 24/7 access pass, which I obviously have that
Yeah.
for holiday reasons. But
Yep.
that was always the issue I was having. So I'm like, all right, you know what? If I just go there in the morning, I'll be out of my way. Nobody's calling me at 4:45 in the morning or 5 o'clock. So most of my workouts are now that time, which I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm still half asleep, but
Yeah.
that's what the caffeine kick does. And I
Yep.
feel sorer. I do prefer, if I had a perfect world, that it would probably be evening to later at night workout. To be honest
Really?
with you, I'd probably be
Okay.
better at about 8. I used to go at like 8 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And I always felt like my body was warmed up, ready to go. But again, we're talking 10 years ago now. We're not
Sure.
talking about recently.
Yeah.
But now with things getting so hectic, like you said, you don't know how your day is going to be. So I just figure if I could go there at 4:45 or 5 in the morning, no one's calling me at that point. No
Right.
one's calling me until probably 8 or 9 o'clock, really. So
Right.
at least it's out of the way. And now the rest of my day, to me, the workout's the hardest part of my day.
Yeah.
So if I can get through that, the rest of my day is pretty simple from there on out.
That's right.
So that's the way I always look at it is my workout's going to be the toughest part of my day, most likely. Everything else is pretty easy. I know I was watching you work out yesterday. I mean, you're sitting there pushing heavy weights. You're doing a lot of sets. And I'm like, that's the hardest part of your day, most likely. Everything
It
else
is.
is just easy if I can get through this.
Yeah, it is the hardest part of my day. And I think it really sets the tone, too. So that's why morning workouts are really, they're great for a lot of people because they're trying to get their day started off with high energy, right? They're
Yep.
trying to set the tone for their day. So if they can get the workout out of the way,
Sure.
now, I mean, look at the tone they've set. So
Yep. I agree with you on that. So while I'm not a fan of it,
yeah,
I like to get out of the way.
yeah,
And now sometimes I'm like, if I have to, I sometimes do evening workouts when I play volleyball.
yeah,
I'll go in the evening because usually it's leg day, and I feel way better when I do legs before going cold to a sport for the most part, except for
Right.
softball. For some reason, for softball, I could go there cold and I'm good.
Yeah.
And maybe just because it's not as high energy. But
Yeah.
do you do anything post workout? Like, do you go to a sauna at all, or steam room, or?
I would love to start swimming during my post, especially now that it's summer. I would
Okay.
love to start to swim
Sure.
for like a nice post workout cool down. Swimming is great. I mean, swimming is
It's
something
one of the
that,
best things for you.
yeah, if you have access to a pool, I mean, swimming can be great. Saunas are obviously great for detoxing, really getting that deep sweat out.
Yep.
We definitely don't sweat as much doing hypertrophy style training. I don't think you sweat near as much as you would if you were a runner. Runners usually leave soaked in sweat.
Oh, I know.
But-
On Saturdays, I'll usually do 30 minutes of the revolving stairs, and my whole shirt's basically just drenched.
Yeah.
And I'm usually freezing cold because
Right.
I'm just drenched in sweat.
Right.
But you're right, because lifting, unless you're doing like a high energy one, you're not going to be sweating profusely like you
Right.
could possibly be as a runner.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see people on the bike and on the treadmill and they're just soaked.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going for a lot of times.
Right.
But yeah, sauna would be a great post workout. But yeah, that's actually the next thing that I'm wanting to work in towards is more of like recovery style.
Yep.
What I do right now is once a month I do go get a deep tissue massage.
Okay.
So I do have a massage therapist that I work with. And anybody that's listening, I would highly suggest massage because recovery is a very important part of bodybuilding. It's a very important part of powerlifting. It's a very important part of just living.
Right. Yep.
Our body is a very dynamic, just there's so many muscles, there's so many bones.
Right.
And in order for them to all work appropriately, you do need to recover correctly.
And I love
Yeah.
a massage, but the deep tissue gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Swedish to deep tissue, so I'm like right in between there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm just so uncomfortable, and I'm sitting there sweating,
Right.
just trying to get through it. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, you're probably right. Deep tissue is probably what you actually need. But
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $100, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, this just get me out of here.
Yeah, and the lady that I go to, she's only $45 a session, and it's a 60-minute session, which
Dang.
and just so the viewers and the listeners can know, I am more of a Swedish guy. I'm
Okay.
not the deep tissue guy. It's more of right in the middle of the road, so right between Swedish and kind of leaning towards deep tissue. And the massage therapist they'll know, they play it by each client. They can tell what's too much pressure or what's not enough.
Sure.
And if you do work out, they can kind of feel what's going on with the muscle group.
Mm-hmm.
So they can say, oh, you're really tight here. Let's work on this specific area. And you can kind of go over, before your meeting, like, hey, or before your session, like, hey, what is ailing you? Like, what's hurting you right now? What do we need to focus on the most now? So yeah, it's great to have a massage therapist that you're working with regularly.
Sure.
If it's something that you want. Yeah.
And it was $45. I'd be there every week.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's cheap because you can't even find a person for $1 a minute anymore around our area here. So
Right.
you're lucking out.
And
That's
it's cool.
awesome.
I just had a birthday last month, and I always get a free massage every birthday.
Dang,
in
I
the
want
mail.
that too. Mine's coming up.
Yeah. So yeah, we take all the deals we can get. It's expensive to live healthy, I will say.
Yeah.
We in the world, you talked about convenience earlier, and in the world of McDonald's drive-throughs, it is easy to get a quick meal, $5-8, and you can get a whole meal.
Right.
Versus going to the market and spending, you know what meat costs today,
Yeah.
how much a steak is, how much it costs to buy, like you said, fresh fruits and vegetables. It's definitely expensive, but in the long run, it pays off.
Oh, yes.
You know, we only get one body, and so it's important to take care of it. Yeah.
I see this. I see like a photo. It's someone it's usually a cartoon. Someone really muscular and someone really overweight, and it says, "Suffer now and be fine later," or something like that, or
Wow.
"Be fine now and suffer later," being overweight, basically.
Wow.
Because people
Yeah.
don't really realize that when and I always tell this to people, especially students, I go, your heart is essentially a muscle, and if you just ignore it, it will eventually just go away because you got to push it to do some stuff.
Right.
Just like if you don't push your muscles that you can see, you're not going to become stronger. Well, your heart's not going to become stronger, but it never has to work stronger.
Yeah. There's something called delayed gratification.
Yes.
And I think the viewers and the listeners, most people probably know what delayed gratification is, but yeah, delayed gratification is something that if you learn that at a young age, that can impact a lot of parts of life, especially your overall health, because even small amounts of exercise and small amounts of just consistency in that department can pay off, for years and years. I actually had a friend of mine in the gym. She's in her upper 40s, and she was talking about how thankful she is that when she was in her 20s and she was in her 30s, that she really pushed herself, because now in her 40s, she doesn't have all these years and years of neglect to work through or to make up for.
Yeah, like playing catch up.
Yeah. So that's, if I could give a shout out, to people that are, maybe in their 30s or 40s, and you're trying to learn how to get in the weight room or start exercise, I would say there's no time like the present.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you're about to say that.
And to just go after it with your whole heart. Be intentional about it. Set aside a little bit of time. Set aside 30 minutes and
That's all
just
you need.
watch where you can grow from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people do need to realize that 30 minutes of just getting your heart rate elevated of some sort, even if it's just a brisk walk, is better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Walk
that's
your
right.
dog or something. If most people have a dog.
Yeah, get involved. If you have kids in your life, if you have young niece and nephews, if you've got friends that enjoy the outdoors, go find a trail. Go find something where it's not even really a workout. Like, you're kind of exploring.
Right.
If you have a dog that you're like, oh man, my dog could really benefit from a walk today. Yeah, just get outdoors. As long as it's not raining like it is right now.
I don't know if people can hear it, but it's coming down pretty hard. So
Yeah.
I wonder if you can hear this right now.
It sounds like we're in Florida right now. Like, it is downpouring outside right now.
We were just talking earlier on the podcast that there's flooding on the way coming.
Yeah.
And I think it just came while we're sitting here.
I think we jinxed it. If people believe in jinxes, man, we definitely jinxed it today, because it is just coming down outside in the Mississippi. Like I said, it's already high, so I don't know where
it's
this.
gonna be higher.
Yeah.
It won't come into the town. We haven't had that since '65, I believe.
Is there a rainy season for Minnesota? Is there such a thing?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say, because
The snowy season.
there is. Yeah, you guys have long winters.
No, I would say if I had to say, it's probably April, May.
Okay.
like normal.
Yeah.
April showers bring May flowers, or
Yeah,
whatever they say.
Absolutely.
Last year was dry as could be. Grass was brown. My grass was terrible last year. So
Yeah.
it was just dying. It's all
Yeah.
it was doing. We had nothing.
Wow.
And now this year we have plenty. I'm mowing my lawn like every 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
I mean, while we're getting a lot of beautiful grass and flowers, it's
Yeah.
a lot to upkeep too at the same time.
Yeah, the town looks great. Pulling in, I came in 2 days ago, and as soon as you come in to the city, there's all these, there's greenery and there's
Yep.
plants everywhere. Your town does a great job, just with planting trees, planting flowers, just really making the city look welcoming for people
Yep.
coming from the outside. Yeah.
Well, look like, what, were you on a bike ride last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Saw your well, I think it was your Facebook story.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live.
I
yes,
wanted,
it was.
yeah. So I try to kind of do product reviews, which is it's interesting. A lot of people, they'll travel somewhere, and they might just do like a brief tour of the town.
Yep.
Because it's important to be able to see like where you are and just I mean, especially around the Mississippi, a lot of people, I don't know if people go to the levee that come in this town, but there's some beautiful sights to see. The spillway is another place if people can go to. The sunsets at the spillway are just breathtaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last night I did a product review on the bird scooters, which you can rent.
Oh, that's what you were on. I thought you were biking.
Yeah, no, I think they're
That's
like,
awesome.
you can rent them as long, just download an app on your phone.
Yep.
Scan it and it starts up. I think it's like 30 cents a minute or something like that.
I think it's like $1 to start one up or something,
Yeah.
and like 30 cents a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I rode one last year for the first time in August.
Yeah.
I was having a couple beers with my buddy, and I'm like, it'll be safer if we just use these.
Yeah, they're all over. I was in Waco, Texas, the first time I ever used one, and it took me all over the city.
Was
And
it a Bird one? The
It
same
was
company?
Bird. Yeah, same company.
Because I think up
Yeah.
in the cities they have something called like Lime or something.
Yeah, Lime.
And so they're all different ones. But yeah, actually, my student, one of my former students' dads is the one that I think manages them.
Oh, really?
So this is a great story. One day we were talking about it in class. Somehow it came up, and he goes, "Yeah, my dad's and he manages them." I'm like, "He does?" He's like, "Yeah. We had sometimes, they go missing, so we had to go find them because they have the tracker location on them."
Right.
He goes, "One time we found one and someone dissected it."
Really?
The way that he used it, I think he was in 7th grade at the time. He goes, "Yeah, they dissected it."
Wow.
So they must have taken the batteries out or whatever it was in there. I was like, "Oh, they dissected the
Yeah,
scooter."
it sounds like something that would be interesting to own. Like if you could own like a fleet of them.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, they work themselves kind of. I'm sure they have charging stations somewhere. I don't really know.
That's a good question. I don't know how they actually are charged. But
Yeah.
I feel like they'd have solar panels on them, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Because they do put them away, obviously, in the winter months. So they get picked up in like October. I think they come back out in April.
Okay.
So they are kind of, some people in the community have their thoughts on them.
Yeah.
But some people are just leaving them willy-nilly in the middle of the sidewalk, too, where someone handicapped might be going down the sidewalk and
Right.
has to try to get around it. So there are some people who do that. And there's some people that hide them in their backyard because they're like college kids.
Right.
And they don't want someone to come and take it because
Yeah.
then their mode of transportation is gone.
Okay.
So
I never thought
they'll
about
hide them
that.
in their backyard so nobody can, because you'll be on your app, you're like, where is it? I'm sitting right in front of it. I don't see it
Yeah.
anywhere. It's in their backyard hidden.
Yeah, on the Bird app, you actually can see a map, and it will show you exactly where one is located.
Yep.
So if you're like walking around, you're like, I really want to go ride one. There's a finder on there, so
Yep.
it's really easy to use.
It goes about, what I got was about 14 miles an hour is the max. I got
Yeah,
out of it.
they are not slow. I mean, these things, you have to be ready for them. They have a throttle on your right side, and when you turn that throttle open, it goes.
Yeah.
All you have to do is kickstart it. You just have to, or kind of kick push it.
Yep.
And once you kick push it,
It hits.
push the throttle in, that thing goes. Yeah.
They're pretty fun to actually go around on.
Yeah.
But they are a little safer than if you're going to have like a beer or two and get behind a vehicle.
Right. Yeah. And
I'm sure you can still get in trouble, though.
last night I learned that there are actually no ride zones. I did not know
Yes. However,
that until last night.
someone said if you just full throttle through it, it won't stop it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So you can't go down by the levee. It's one of those spots.
Yeah, there's a splash pad. There's a concrete kind of like circle park area down by
Yep.
Fastenal.
Yep.
And yeah, the thing shut off on me. I could push it around, but I couldn't actually ride it.
Yes.
It wouldn't go.
So someone told me though one time, they're like, hey, if you just hammer through it,
Yeah.
it'll slow down, but then it'll go past it, and then it
Like
just keeps
there's
going.
like a force field. You just got to throttle through.
You just got to throttle through.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna head on to this last one here. What do we got? Strawberry
Yeah.
watermelon.
Yep, strawberry
now, so
watermelon.
far, I think my favorite's been tropical punch or this one. It was a combo. Grape might be a little too much for me if I was going to have these on a daily basis.
Grape is very strong flavor-wise.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
well, you got to, grape is the only flavor in that one, whereas this one's got 2. Tropical Punch is going to have multiple, and this one's got at least 2 of them in it as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I would say that strawberry watermelon is more of a mild flavor. Yeah.
I might have to try these sometime before my workout.
Yeah. And for the listeners, always get them as cold as you possibly can. Not frozen, but get them as cold as you possibly can. They are best when they are cold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, I like everything. When I drink it, it's got to be cold. I don't like hot chocolate. I'd rather have chocolate milk fresh out of the refrigerator during a negative 30-degree day than hot chocolate. I don't drink coffee either. I'm not big into coffee.
Yeah, me either.
But it smells great.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that if you knew my mom and dad and how often. My mom's a nurse, so her shifts start early. So she's always been a big coffee fan, big coffee drinker. And my dad is a truck driver, so he's big coffee guy. I don't know how I didn't inherit that. I'm the only person in my family who's not a big coffee drinker.
Yeah.
I've always tried to be. I always like cold drinks. I don't know. And coffee's typically hot. So
Typically, yes.
yeah. So not a big coffee guy, but big Zoa guy. So shout out to Dwayne Johnson if you're listening.
He might as well sponsor this because that would
Yeah.
only make this blow up then.
Yeah, Zoa is. If I had a sponsorship, it would definitely be from Zoa because I have spent a lot of money on Zoa Energy.
How much is like one can? Do you buy them by the case or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I like to buy Zoa by the case.
Okay.
So if
how many
you-
would come in a case typically then?
Yeah, so Zoa comes in a 12-pack.
Okay.
And you can get a variety pack. You can buy one flavor. I typically buy the variety pack so I don't get tired of this one flavor
Sure.
over and over again. So yeah, variety pack, and you can get them for I think $20 for a 12-pack,
Well, that's not too bad.
which in the energy drink market is pretty fair
That very fair.
in today's day. Yeah.
If you go to a gas station, you're looking at about $3.50 a can.
Right. Yeah. If you go to a gas station, sometimes you can find them for like buy one, get one free, which is awesome. If you can see that, buy it because that's a great deal. But yeah, so yeah, if you can get a 12-pack for $20, you're doing pretty good.
Sure. I might have to try that out and see because the way I always think of it is if in the fitness or supplement world, if you can get anything for $1 serving,
Yeah.
you're doing pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That's where I always went with Gold Standard as my protein because I could get that big jug with like 65 servings and it was like $60 or $65 for it. I'm like, $1 serving is about the best you're going to get, and it always had one of the best reviews.
Yep.
What do you use for protein? Do you?
Yeah. So that's an awesome segue. So yeah, protein supplementation is a big part of my diet. When you talk about your recovery,
Yep.
it's hard to get as much protein through food that somebody that's trying to bulk really needs because your macros, including your carbohydrates, right, and your proteins. So I do supplement a lot with whey protein, and I swear by GNC protein. If you can get the Whey-bolic Extreme 60 protein, whichever flavor you like. I like the chocolate.
Same.
It's hard to go wrong. You can mix it in. You can make a milkshake, which is what I do. About 3 scoops of vanilla ice cream, 8 ounces of milk, throw some ice cubes in, and then throw 1 scoop of the Whey-bolic Extreme 60, and that's great as a post-workout.
Gosh, I remember how those things used to be so disgusting back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh man, college is like 2008, 9, just ugh.
I used to mix them with water, and that's not the way to
I
go.
still do it with water and I just chug it.
Yeah,
It's just the easiest for me because I take it right after my workout, and I work on the morning before I go to work, so I'll be there. I shower. I do everything right there. So my only thing is bringing in water from the drinking fountain. But it's okay because I've actually enjoyed it more. I don't feel so bloated. I used to do it with milk.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, was I gassed up.
Oh yeah. That's definitely a side effect there.
Yeah. Anyone's ever heard about the protein shits? They know.
People that are concerned with flavor definitely go the milk route. But if you have a sensitivity, of course, to lactose, things like that. I don't suggest ice cream and all the whole milk, but you do get a lot of calories though. So if you're wanting to go into a bulk, it's great. Whole milk, vanilla ice cream, just a couple ice cubes, and then your scoop of your whey, and you got a 800 calorie shake right there. So that's a meal.
That's
right?
a whole meal replacement, basically.
So
yeah.
it's a great way to go if you can stay consistent with that. And if your stomach can handle it, it's a great way to supplement.
Sure. So now, what else are you doing in your life besides working out all the time? And what are you up to? I mean, you're 33. I'm assuming you got a career of some sort.
Yeah. So after I graduated from college, I studied marketing in school. I didn't really know where that would take me because marketing is it's a very dynamic major. It can really take you anywhere.
Sure.
So there's a company in the town that I live in. It's called Blue Cross and Blue Shield. For anybody that knows health insurance,
Yep.
That's what I do. So I work at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I work in the account management side of things. So I started in customer service, answering the phones. Everybody has a call center. If you have an insurance company, somebody's got to answer the phone.
That's right.
So I started there, and then I worked my way up into more of the account management side of things. So instead of working with members, which is what I used to do, now I work with the companies. So the HR directors, the chief financial officers, the chief executive officers, people like that. That's what I work with.
Okay.
So more high level projects, a lot of open enrollment projects like paperwork renewals. So when it comes time for these people to go out to market, and they might be going to look at bids with companies like United Healthcare, that's our big competitor.
Sure.
So Blue Cross will have an account executive that they come up with a renewal bid, and they present that to the client. So I work hand in hand with that account executive, and we hope to land that client for maybe another 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're in that. So then the marketing, how does that play into it?
Yeah. So marketing, what I do is more of relationship management.
Okay.
So obviously that entails a lot of, just being able to walk with the client.
Yep.
Right. So members are more of like a once in a while conversation. Whereas if you have a client, they're locked in for that year. So right now I have 30 accounts, and I am their point person. So like if they need a go-to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, I'm their guy that's pointed to them, where I can answer like high level questions that they might have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been there since college?
So I've been there for 13 years. So
holy cow.
I started there when I was 20 years old. 4 months after I graduated from college, I was able to land that job. And
Wow.
I credit my aunt. My aunt worked there at the time. She was there, I think, for 25 years. And she put in a good word for me. And the first time that I applied, I got in there for an interview and did really well and got the job. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've been there for 13 years. You must be a good employee, too.
Yeah. So I'm very blessed. I think that obviously, speaking about fitness and like how I integrate that into my life, I think like you have to be able to work it in obviously with your job, because your job is what makes a lot of your life possible.
Right.
Because we have to have provision. You have to make money. And fitness is expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. So yeah, right now I typically start work around 8:30 and then work till about 4:30 or 5. But my job is very flexible. If you can have a flexible job, that's great. Obviously teachers have summers off. So if you're a teacher, that can be great, obviously. But yeah, right now working at Blue Cross Blue Shield. I love what I do. Been there for 13 years. It provides obviously that opportunity to exercise morning or night. So yeah.
So and now I noticed you post a lot of stuff on social media. Do you, for like your fitness portion, do you use your marketing background to think about things you want to post?
Yeah. So marketing, you got to be willing to speak to your audience, and you got to know how to speak to people in different markets. So you got to know, in other words, know your demographic.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of that in college. I studied a lot about how, grown adults in their 40s and 50s might receive information versus how do kids receive information? How do college age kids receive information? Going all the way up to how do elderly how does the elderly market receive information?
Sure.
So it's important to know, your target audience and be willing to be diverse, especially. So yeah, marketing is a huge benefit for my social media. Yeah.
So now when you're doing your social media, what's your target audience and would you say for yourself?
Yeah. So I have can I do a plug for my fitness
Absolutely.
channel? So I have an Instagram page right now that I'm kind of working up, and it's called Tyler Fly Fitness. So if anybody wants to follow me, feel free.
Tyler Fly Fitness.
Tyler Fly Fitness.
What's the fly mean?
Fly just means
You're just a fly guy?
It's more, yeah. It's more. So I was
Love it.
so when I worked at the golf course, everyone called me Hollywood because I always had crazy hair. So
I mean, dude, you got
still,
the highlights going right now.
Yeah, I still
that has
have,
been. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, it's summer. I haven't had highlights in it's been 6 years since I've had highlights.
Sure.
I was encouraged by some close friends that I need to bring him back. Need to bring back the blonde, and it's summer, so there's no time like the present. But yeah, I got a nickname when I was 17 at the golf course that I worked at, and it was called Hollywood.
Okay.
And so, wait, what was the question? Sorry, I got off track.
How'd you come up with Fly?
Okay, so Tyler is a really common name. I tried to get Tyler Fitness.
Sure.
And obviously that's not going to happen. That was taken up probably years ago.
To listen to the rest of this episode, hop on over to any of the audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and so on and so forth to hear the rest of Tyler Hodshire's episode. Enjoy.